Hello, everyone. Hopefully, you can hear us and see us. We'll be starting in just a minute. Oh, I want to pause that. There we go. A lot to talk about this week. I should have put these notes on my big screen. Oh, well. I'm going to be looking to the side for a lot of this episode, I think. It's still updating. What is happening? I've never seen a Surface take this long to update.
We should also talk about your watch.
Oh, it's not on me right now. It's in the other room. Charging.
But you can still talk about it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, okay. Where am I? Here we are.
Gotta get my tweets out.
My chat isn't working. Oh, there we go. It's back. All right, I'm ready to go when you are.
Almost there. 2 seconds. Voice recorder. All right, I'm now recording.
I'm now recording.
3, 2, 1, clap. Welcome to the Windows Central Podcast, episode 367 for May 22nd, 2025. Hey everyone, Daniel Rubino here, joining Zac Bowden for another exciting episode of the Windows Central Podcast. And this week we'll be talking about the Build 2025 recap. Wait, did Build happen this week? I barely noticed it. I'll give you my summary of the Surface Pro 12-inch review, which hasn't gone up yet, but should be up for tomorrow if I can just find the time in my life. Zac got his hands on the Surface Laptop 13-inch, so he's going to share his impressions of that one with a review coming soon on that as well. Plus, we'll go over some Windows 11 news, some OpenAI buys Johnny Ive's company to make AI hardware. So this is just kind of an interesting thing. Google XR at I/O. It's like alien language. We'll explain what all those little words mean as Google had its sort of build event this week. I'd also mention there was Computex, but not a whole lot came out from there as we kind of anticipated. And I'm going to coerce Zac to talk about his Galaxy Watch Ultra, which I've talked about in this podcast before because I think it's really awesome. And I think we've slowly turning Zac into a Samsung person. So like convince him to get the S25 Ultra, which he liked. And then he picked up the Fits, which is their $50 wearable, which is actually way better than it should be for $50. But now he's upgraded to the Galaxy Watch Ultra, which is, as he noted, really big.
Yeah.
So we'll go over his thoughts about that and mine on Samsung's hardware. Zac, how are you doing on this fine Thursday?
I'm not too bad. It's been a busy week with Build and the new Surfaces all launching at the same time. I don't know who'd planned all that. That was really inconsiderate of whoever did that at Microsoft. But I've been getting through it. So yeah, as Dan mentioned today, I got access to the laptop studio, the laptop 13-inch, which we will talk about later in the show. First impressions of it's actually quite nice for what it is. But I think we should really start with the Build stuff because that's, I guess, might be top of mind for most people this week. Dan, I hear you didn't hear about any of it.
Yeah, it's pretty true. I I did catch some of your stories. So there
Sure.
was some cool stuff. I'm not gonna I'm being a little bit cheeky, but yeah, there was some cool stories, which I'm sure you'll tell us about instead of the boring stories. But go
Yes.
ahead.
Yeah, so we are skipping all the boring stuff. This is if you're a developer, this is not the podcast for you. We're not going to go into the nitty gritty about all the developer stuff. We'll give you the cliff notes really, in regards to the more interesting stuff that was announced at Build, because we're consumers and we like the more consumer facing stuff. Although most of it really was developer focused, I think a lot of this is laying the foundation and laying the groundwork for more consumer end user experiences down the line from not just Microsoft but third party developers as well. So we should start with the stuff that was announced for the Microsoft Store. So the Microsoft Store, I've said many times now, the Microsoft Store on Windows 11, I think might be one of the best apps on Windows. I think it's a beautiful app. I think it's very fast, fluid. It works really well these days compared to the old Windows 10 one. And it's actually got a lot of apps in there now. Most of the apps that I need on Windows are available in the Microsoft Store. And I always choose to download from the Microsoft Store if I can, because it's nice to have a single location that handles app updates and all that other good stuff. And so this week, Microsoft announced some changes to the policies around developers and submitting apps to the Microsoft Store as part of Build. They are making it free if you are an individual developer. So if you're an aspiring developer or a professional developer who just simply sort of builds apps as on your own or as a small team that technically class as an individual, you can now submit apps to the Microsoft Store for free. It will no longer cost you any money. Microsoft was previously charging, I believe it was $19 or $20 per user, per developer, to sign up and submit apps to the Microsoft Store. That's no longer the case. It's now free. And Microsoft says they are the first tech company with an active app storefront to do this. Apple and Google still charge the developers to submit apps to say the Play Store or the App Store, but Microsoft is no longer going to do that. So that should, in theory, allow more developers to get their apps into the Microsoft Store who previously couldn't afford that $20 entry fee, which is a lot of people, especially, like I said, if you're an aspiring developer who isn't making any money from any apps. $20 is a big ask. And so now you no longer need to worry about that. You can just get your app into the Microsoft Store. And ideally, that should grow the Microsoft Store quite significantly, especially for those working on free apps or smaller, lesser known apps, which is really quite nice. Yeah, I like the Microsoft Store is fantastic. I've really enjoyed using the Microsoft Store. They've announced a couple other improvements to it as well, including the ability for developers to start beta campaigns, I believe. So yeah, to drive user acquisition across the store and other Microsoft services. There's new discovery capabilities for apps on Windows, new acquisition and health analytics, and actionable certification reports for developers on the back end as well. So yeah, lots of improvements coming to the Microsoft Store, and every day I'm seeing new apps in there that I usually need to use or download. I'm like, oh, it's great. I can get it from the Microsoft Store, and I just love it. I love being able to just press up, check for updates, and have everything update all at the same time, which, yeah, I love it. Dan, I assume you're a big user of the Microsoft Store as well, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's Rudy Wynn, and some ex Windows Phone people are on that team. They're the team that used to be doing all the great apps on Windows Phone. Uh, they were just really focused on design and usually pushed the boundaries sort of what the apps were doing on Windows Phone. So it's no surprise that they put a lot of emphasis both on performance as well as visual appeal. And yeah, it looks way better than it definitely used to be. I don't use it as much for browsing these days because I'm pretty fixed on my workflow.
Yeah.
But I do get like Telegram and Slack. You're right. What I'm hoping is that they come up with some sort of default installation package. You can do this with, was it NuGet or something like that?
Yeah.
There's this system where
WinGet.
you can, WinGet, where you can put together your own package and then just run it once and it fetches those things. I'd like to see that come to the store just built in because, it would be even cooler then when you're setting up a PC. It always asks, do you want to restore from like another PC where it kind of copies some of your files, which kind of helps. But I would like to have it as like a package from the store of like, here's your essential apps, and you just click that and it just installs those guys, right? I think that would be helpful. On the other hand, that's probably a pretty niche thing because how many people are setting up PCs every other week? So maybe not a big deal. But the design has been great on it. Obviously, they fought, I think, for a while to get the sort of change logs to be included into it. They support the architecture type now, which is really good. Granted, I've yet to run into a x64 app that doesn't run on ARM64 due to the new Prism
Yeah.
emulation. But it's still nice and cool to see if an app is native for ARM64, or at least using ARM64 EC, which is a combination of both systems. But yeah, I kind of like watching the development. I just feel like app stores on PC is, like I said, I don't know if people use it that much, like compared to a phone. We're always kind of coming out with a new app or getting something for your bank. You sign up for a new service, that kind of thing. So it doesn't surprise me, I guess, that they're eliminating the cost, the entry fee. We saw this back in the day with Windows Phone too, right? There was an issue of getting people to sign up for the $99 account and stuff like that. And they eventually kind of backed off from that. I think this is more sometimes a position of weakness where they make this decision because they do want to attract more developers and need to remove any kind of barriers to that because they're probably not making a ton of money anyway from this stuff. That said, in terms of technology and media and where things are going, there's now been a pushback led a lot by the EU against, stores taking percentage
Yeah.
of revenue from these developers, right? There's really kind of a negativity towards that, and Microsoft may be like seeing where the future is going with this stuff. So
Yeah, Microsoft really has let go of trying to make money from the Microsoft Store, and honestly, that's the best thing that's ever happened to the Microsoft Store. If you remember, for a long time, the App Store on Windows was terrible. Started Windows 8, there was nothing in there essentially. Windows 10, it got a bit better, but there were still no browsers in there. Most of the apps that you really wanted weren't in there. And sometimes, if an app was in there, it was like an older, outdated, modern version compared to the full desktop version. Those were some dark times for the Microsoft Store. And with Windows 11, they sort of just washed their hands and went, listen, we're never going to make money from the Microsoft Store. Let's just make it as accessible as possible to as many developers as possible. And that's why the Microsoft Store is so good now, because developers can put their apps in there, whether they be modern UWP apps or legacy Windows 32 apps, or packaged, unpackaged, it doesn't matter, even hosted or not hosted on the Microsoft Store. These days, Microsoft will let a developer do it however they like. You don't even have to push updates to the Microsoft Store. So Microsoft Teams is doing this now, where when you check for updates in the Microsoft Store, the Teams app will appear, but when you click on update, it actually opens the Teams app and downloads the update through Teams, which I'm not a huge fan of. I do kind of want the store to deal with all the updates, but developers now have that option if they want to handle updates themselves. And just relaxing all of these policies has allowed developers to finally get their older classic apps into the store. And I love it. I think it's great. I love the idea of having just one location to grab all of the Windows apps that I can from, versus downloading executables and installers and doing it the old-fashioned way. That's so archaic compared to hitting one button in a modern app to download the program you want. The other thing I was going to mention, what was it? Something to the Microsoft Store. Yeah, and so it was in about 2021 where they sort of started relaxing themselves from, trying to make money from the Microsoft Store. And today, I think the only scenario where Microsoft makes money from the store is if you buy an app on the store. Microsoft, I think, still takes a cut, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know how big it is. I'm assuming it's the industry standard. I don't know. But if your app is free or if your app isn't hosted on the Microsoft Store, Microsoft isn't asking for money from you. And that's, as a developer, a big deal. And so it's really nice to see Microsoft doing that. And I'll be interested to see if Apple and Google follow shortly behind, because obviously, as Dan mentioned, Apple's in trouble with regulatory bodies.
Court order maybe will force Apple.
Yeah.
Apple's in a precarious situation. We've talked about it previously, but like most of their sales come from the iPhone. Over 50% of their profits. They're facing the tariff situation, moving operations to India, talking about there's rumors that they're going to drive up the price a bit for the next release, and they're going to try to justify that through the hardware. But iPhones are already pretty expensive. They're facing a lot of blowback regarding the store from the courts. Their Vision Pro is basically a flop, and as we'll talk about later, their ex-designer has teamed up with OpenAI to make a device that a lot of people are thinking Apple should have been making, but Apple's so far behind on AI right now, it's like kind of crazy. So
we'll talk about that later.
They're in a tough situation. Yep.
Yeah. So just to compare real quick, for individual developers, it's now free for to submit on the Microsoft Store. For Google, it's still $25. I think it's a one-time fee for Google. You pay $25, and then your developer account can submit apps to the Play Store. And then for Apple, it's a $99 annual fee. So you have to pay $99 a year as an individual developer to even have the luxury of submitting apps to the App Store, even if your app is free and has no in-app purchases. Apple still charges $100 a year to you, and so that, if we take a look at it compared to what Microsoft is now doing, it's night and day difference. The way these two companies sort of view their storefronts is so different now. Apple views it as a business. They make lots of money from the App Store. They'd like to protect that. Microsoft gave up trying to make the Microsoft Store a business, and I think that was the right call for Microsoft because it was failing up until that point. And so, yeah, and for the longest time now, the Microsoft Store has hosted other storefronts like iTunes. And could you imagine if Microsoft tried to force Apple to give Microsoft 30% of every song or subscription purchase through Apple Music?
Well, that's what
iTunes?
That was the whole epic battle, right?
Yeah.
For Apple. That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
That would be insane. Apple would be like, no, go away. Absolutely not. And so now it's coming back to bite them in the backside. But I think that's good. And it's good to see Apple sort of under fire a little bit, because I think they've had it easy for a long time at this point. The last decade or so, everyone has praised Apple. Apple's been great, this, that, and the other. They're finally getting some heat, and they deserve it, especially around AI, which, again, we will talk about later, because OpenAI has just recently purchased Johnny Ive's company, and that's a big deal for Apple fans. But yeah, we'll talk about that later. We'll move on to some of the other build stuff. We'll start with some of the sort of AI framework stuff Microsoft announced. So there was a big sort of theme around positioning Windows as the platform for AI developers this year. So there wasn't so much AI features for Windows announced, but more just the conversation around, if you're a developer and you're building AI experiences, we want you to be using Windows 11. And so Microsoft announced a couple of interesting changes and addition to the OS, starting with support for the Model Context Protocol, which is an agentic, it's a standardized framework for AI agents, which allows developers to connect with native Windows apps, which can expose the specific functionality to augment the skills and capabilities of those agents on Windows 11 PCs. Model Context Protocol (MCP) is an open standard. It's not a Microsoft-made thing. It's a standard that Microsoft is adopting. And what this, to my knowledge, what it allows developers to do, or AI experiences to do, is essentially reach into like a core or a center where data is shared as given permission by the user for AI experiences to take advantage of. So say you're using a bunch of different apps and they're all sharing context between each other, they're using the MCP to do that, and AI agents can take a look at that secure area of data and make use of the information in there. And so this idea of this sort of ambient contextual AI stuff that we've been talking about, we kind of want Copilot to become, that's not possible without this sort of experience, this MCP stuff being a thing on Windows, because otherwise how does Copilot access the data if the app isn't sharing the data? So developers with MCP will be able to build APIs and support into their apps that allows these apps to share data with, I believe Microsoft calls it the MCP registry and MCP server. So the MCP registry for Windows, this is the single, secure, and trustworthy source to make MCP servers accessible to AI agents on Windows. Agents can discover the installed MCP servers on client devices via the MCP registry for Windows, leverage their expertise, and offer meaningful value to end users. And then the MCP server for Windows will include Windows system functionalities like file system, windowing, and Windows subsystem for Linux as MCP servers for agents to interact with. So this is all very high-level stuff. It's mostly for developers, but the results should mean better agentic experiences for end users. So if you are a developer building an AI agent for whatever reason, and you want your AI agent to be able to reach into data from other apps, you will want to build support in for MCP. And it's good to see Microsoft adopting this. They really do want to position Windows as this sort of agentic operating system. And so this is a big step forward towards that sort of end goal of this agentic OS that can carry context between experiences and windowing and apps and just know exactly what it is you want to do. So that's pretty exciting. The other thing they announced is a feature called App Actions. Now, this technically isn't new. It's kind of already shipping, but developers will now be able to tap into this. App Actions is what appears when you right-click and click to do. So if you hold your Windows key and open click to do it and you select some text and right-click, you'll often see some quick actions there. That's what App Actions is. And now developers will be able to tap into this as well. So say if you have, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a Notepad++, for example. You have that installed and you right-click some text and click to do. If Notepad++ chooses to be there, they can show up in the quick actions menu there, and you can summarize with Notepad++ or copy text into Notepad++ directly, just as an example. And this will sort of begin showing up elsewhere in the OS as well over time. So it's not just click to do. So this, I believe, will also show up in File Explorer, because File Explorer is getting AI actions in addition to click to do. And so that was one of those things that was announced as part of Build as well. Let's see what else was announced. We can talk about the subsystem for Linux has been open sourced. This is apparently the first thing that was requested on the GitHub about 10 years ago when the subsystem for Linux was first announced. That doesn't sound right. When was the subsystem for Linux announced? It can't have been 10 years ago. Whenever it was first released, the first pull request was, hey, can we make this open source? And so they finally did it. They've done a lot of work behind the scenes, they say, to sort of decouple the subsystem from the operating system. And the reason for that is I'm pretty sure Microsoft didn't want to open source the core of the OS to get the subsystem to be open source. So they've sort of decoupled it, and it's now sort of a standalone app, and that's what's been open sourced. Microsoft is inviting developers to partake and make changes and edits and improvements. Microsoft is, they're big on the open source community these days, and so it's actually not a surprise to me to hear that the subsystem for Linux has been open source. I'm pretty sure we're probably going to see more developer focused things be open sourced over time going forward. That seems to be the sort of theme with Microsoft these days. And Microsoft also announced a new command line text editor called Edit. This is open source as well, and it's basically, if you're in command prompt or terminal and you type in a file and edit, it will allow you to edit that file directly within the command line interface. So no longer do you have to go into Notepad and quickly make your edit there before going back to the command prompt. You can just simply make the edit in command line, which is a nice developer sort of streamlining experience, which is pretty cool to see. And then last but not least, Windows Advanced Settings was announced. This essentially just replaces the Dev Home app, which was short-lived and I think was only announced a year or two ago. And this will allow you to, it's in settings. So if you go, it's in the main Windows settings app. If you go in there, there's now a new area which replaces the for developers page. It's now just called Advanced. And it has all of the old stuff in there, as well as some additional things that allows the File Explorer to pull from GitHub and whatnot. So those are the sort of big updates for developers in regards to Windows. Microsoft did also announce, I guess, technically a rebrand of the Windows Copilot runtime. It's now called the Windows AI Foundry. And they say it's an evolution of the Windows Copilot runtime, offers a unified and reliable platform supporting the AI developer lifecycle for model selection, optimization, fine-tuning, and developments across clients and cloud. And so that includes all of the stuff it used to include, including a bunch of Windows ML stuff and so on and so forth. So that's pretty cool. That's basically the very brief rundown of Build 2025. It was an interesting event this year. Not many people that I knew actually went, which is, I think, says a lot. I think this is not a big year for Build. I think that's fair to say, and I think everybody who is there also kind of knows that. Like, they didn't really make any huge announcements. They did announce Grok AI is coming to the Azure AI Foundry and stuff, so that's nice, I guess. And they had Elon Musk on stage for a brief conversation. Meanwhile, Elon Musk is suing Microsoft, for those of you who don't know that. So that's a funny juxtaposition, I guess. But yeah, I think Google I/O took the crown this year for the best developer conference between Build and I/O, because they usually compete because they're both usually in May. And I/O was just way more interesting. They showed off a lot more innovative AI experiences for not just developers but end users as well as they even was talking about AR glasses and stuff. So they're sort of moving ahead with hardware in addition to just the software side of AI, whereas Microsoft is still very much stuck.
AR glasses.
Yeah,
I kid. Well, we'll talk about that stuff later. I kid a bit because I am excited about the technology, but obviously it's not about the concept. It's about getting the hardware down to that level where you can wear it. But they are getting there, and so maybe soon.
Well, that's what I think. That's what made Build so boring this year. There wasn't even a hardware component to it. It was all software and Azure and Foundries, and it's just like, Google's moving ahead here, and Apple's behind. Don't get me wrong. Apple's not going to be talking about AI at WWDC, I don't think. But in regards to OpenAI, Google, and Microsoft, I feel like Microsoft is trailing behind here, and I don't think they're innovating in this space as much as they were back in 2023 when they first sort of unveiled Bing Chat and stuff. They seem to be quite a strong lead there, and they've just sort of slowly fallen behind each and every time a new AI event is announced. And Google's already at the point where they're talking about hardware. OpenAI is, again, we'll talk about it later on the show, but they've just acquired Johnny Ive's company to build hardware. Microsoft hasn't even shown signs of building AI hardware other than Copilot Plus PCs, but that's not really what we're talking about here. We're talking about like personable, wearable AI
I don't think.
agentic experiences.
Yeah, I'm skeptical we'll see anything from them. I'm also skeptical of that category. I'll be straight up honest,
Yeah, I know
right?
you are. You've said many times you don't believe it's a real thing. But
I
I think
feel
honestly,
like,
I believe that a pair of glasses that can see the world and identify things for you and tell you
yeah,
where to walk, that is helpful, and I think people will find value in that.
yeah. I like I said, I think some people will. There will always be the advantage for this tech if you live in a city where
Yes,
life is confusing. If you live in the suburbs and your life is pretty routine, outside of showing notifications, like I'm not really sure how much information. Although there are little things like here's one. I use an app, and it's got a terrible name, but I'm going to promote it if I can find the name of it. Uh, it is called Yuka,
nice.
Yuka, Yucca, Yuka. I don't know. It's an app that and you can subscribe to it though. It's free too, but you just it has a scanner in it. So you open it and you go to the scanner part. And when you're shopping for food, you scan it and it gives you basically a health rating of the food based on the ingredients. And it breaks it down. It'll tell you why it's bad. For instance, like, oh, it has these preservatives in it. Not only is it cool and does that, but like if it's really bad, it'll pre-populate emails so you can like send the company a message saying them to fix their food. But like having that built-in glasses, I guess would be kind of cool because I'm always pulling my phone out otherwise. But you know, if I'm just looking at something or checking the price, right? So there could be little things like this. I think that will be helpful. But yeah, it's an interesting category. As far as Microsoft and AI, I think they're definitely focused on building out Copilot, which some of it is like behind the scenes. One thing I'm like that kind of annoys me with Copilot is just a simple fact that they don't really do so many announcement features, or maybe I'm missing it. But like I would like when I open the app, if they added something new to settings,
To tell
like a
you
few
what's
weeks
new.
ago. Yeah, like a few weeks ago, like they added a thing where you can enable enable it to scan your files or something like that. Um, let's see if I can bring up the also, getting to the settings on the, Windows app is a little weird. Yeah, they have, oh, never mind, they got rid of it. So, there was, like, these features where you can allow it to, like, access your files or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what it did, but they didn't mention it. Um, there's the phone connection feature. They didn't really publicly announce that as far as I know. It's also broken. Mine's connected to my Z Fold 6,
I
but
guess
I
there's no
haven't
way to
I
remove it from the app, but
No, no, there's no way to remove it. And it's connected through, I believe, Phone Link. So I removed it from Phone Link and from my like it's gone. It's gone from my Microsoft stuff and it's still there. You know, so I don't know. I guess I wish they were just a little bit more transparent, especially for the pro subscribers of like, hey, thanks for being a pro subscriber. We're trying out, even if it's not permanent, like we're trying out this new feature, right? Uh, try it out, let us know, give us feedback. Because otherwise, it's like a mystery half the time. I open it, I'm like, wait, is that a new icon or is that there before? You know, I don't know. They could do a better job there, but I still like Copilot. They just got to, yeah, do a little bit more. So
yeah. So that's basically the build 2025 stuff. We will move on now and talk about the Surface hardware because I think that's probably the more interesting topic for the week.
yeah,
So Dan, you've had the Pro 12-inch for a while now, right? You've had it for,
just going on 2 weeks, I believe. Yeah.
and so I mean, I assume you're ready to review it, so to
Oh
speak.
yeah, yeah. The review is written. I just got to put it into the CMS and upload it.
Sure.
Um, So I'm aiming for tomorrow. That'd be Friday the 23rd. Should be up hopefully by the late afternoon or something. So you can read it on the Memorial Day weekend. I do have it in front of me though. Uh, I really like this device. I think first of all, the hardware is up to the standards of Surface. Like I'm also a big fan of now the pen on the back. We talked about this last time, and now there's some controversy. People think it's going to come off. I've never had it come off. I actually do prefer this. I hope they do bring this kind of design to the bigger 13-inch
Yeah.
model. It being in the keyboard is fine. I like that on the Flex keyboard, they moved it up a little bit to make it easier. But if they do this, they put it on the back. For one, I find this even easier to grasp. And they did a great job with the magnets and everything and how it charges. but then they could make the touchpad bigger on the Surface Pro, which has kind of been a complaint. They've slowly embiggened it over the years, but it can definitely get a little bit larger if they can reclaim that space. So I like that design. I'm also I'm fine with the Alcantara on the back. I like how on this version, there's no Alcantara on the keyboard. And that's controversial, but like I've used my Flex keyboard so much that I do have brown stains on it.
Oh, wow. Really? Even today, that's still a problem. Wow.
Still a problem. And I even bought $23 Alcantara cleaner and put that on there, let it sit for 10 minutes, wiped it. I've done that. It hasn't come out. It's lessened a little bit, but if I show you a photo, you're going to be like, oh, there's still something there. It is. So it still does the staining and it doesn't clean as well, or rather, maybe I need to wipe it down more frequently, but that's not something I normally think about, right? I think they should just move to the design of this, which is you just have the plastic rubber TPU there for your palms and then have the Alcantara on the back. Battery life is good, but it's not amazing, surprisingly. Part of that, I think, is just because how thin the device is. I believe the battery, it's either 34 or 37 milliamps. I forgot the exact number. I could probably pull it up, but so it's not a large battery. So when I did a productivity rundown test, I think you're going to get about 6 or 7 hours out of it. So this for those who don't know, there's a test in Procyon by UL, who's they do standard benchmarking software and a really sophisticated stuff. And because battery life has gotten so ridiculous on a lot of laptops, we don't do full rundowns when we can. We do two things. We do this 1 hour test, which loops through productivity tasks. And then from that, you can estimate, all right, that's what we did over an hour. Here's what I'll get in 2 hours or, 5 hours or whatever. Then we also use the battery report, which is your actual usage recorded from times you discharge and recharge, all that. So battery life, I'm getting it's like 7 hours out of it. Sometimes a little bit less, depending on, by default, out of the box, this ships in best efficiency mode, which I think is a little bit cheating. That said, I do leave it in best efficiency mode because I haven't noticed that much of a difference. It's not like stuff is stuttering when I'm using it or having an issue. So I do leave it in best efficiency. But with that, you're going to get like 7 hours. If you bump it so I saw a 15% battery draw roughly in efficiency mode. And I think it was 20% for an hour. So you're only talking about 5 hours around there. So the battery life, but it feels like it lasts a long time. That's the weird part about it. And same with my battery report is kind of reflective in that range too. So battery life is fine. It's not extraordinary. On the other hand, the performance is great on it because of that chip, right? So this is like something where I think the Surface Go had maybe longer battery life for some people, but the performance was just terrible on it, right? As I mentioned before, this is literally 300% faster than the Surface Go 4 with the N200. So you're getting that 16 gigs of RAM. This has got 512 gigs of storage. The performance has just been really good. So getting 5 to 7 hours of battery life of real world, and I'm keeping the screen pretty bright, I think about 65% screen brightness. So I'm not even cheating there. So I think the battery life's fine, but it's not like the strongest thing. But you're getting all that performance. They were able to create a completely ventless and fanless system that's extremely thin. It is lighter and smaller than the Pro 13. I know that's obvious because of the names, but like I'm saying, like it does feel substantially different when I pick up the 13, right? You really do notice it. The display is good. I do wish it had punchier colors. I think sometimes the ports are okay too. They're not full USB 4 though. They're like 3.2. And so they can't do as much. But I've had no problems really using it. I think it's a good design. I think it looks nice. It's been fun to use. for most of what I do in my job, this is actually totally fine. The only reason I sometimes hesitate is because I have the Pro 13 with an OLED display, which is kind of hard to be like, you do feel that with the Elite processor is definitely a little bit zippier, on top of the fact that it's got the high refresh display on that, which makes it feel faster, right? So given that, yeah, most times I'm going to probably grab the Pro 13. I also like the blue better. It looks way better. So there's that. I also have been pushing the Asus ZenBook A14, which I mentioned is going to come down in price. It is now $799 at Best Buy. I think if you're not looking to buy that laptop and you need a laptop, something's wrong with you. It is such a good laptop. I'm getting like real world 11 hours of usage out of that thing. And that has a nice OLED display. That's also the same Snapdragon Plus processor. And that laptop is my favorite. So I've been using that a lot. So that's my kind of opinion on this. I think it's a great device. Now the pricing, we always know Surface prices always higher than what people want and think they should be. It is still comparatively cheaper to a fully decked out iPad with their keyboard and pen. It still does come in at between $50 and like $200 cheaper, depending on the configuration. Don't forget, there's only a 11-inch and 13-inch iPad Air, where this is a 12-inch. So it's right in between them. So depending on your flavor there. So it's priced well, but I do get where people are saying, well, just get the Pro 13 for a little bit more. So in that sense, I think we'll see this go on sale. I wouldn't be shocked if it goes on sale for back to school later this summer. If they drop this price, right, starts at $799. Version I have is $899. If they drop that price by $100, $150, because don't forget Surface Pro, I think they were discounting by $200.
Yeah.
So if they drop this by 100, 150, so now you're talking instead of $699, maybe even $550. Now you're starting to get
a no-brainer.
Yeah. Now you're getting to the range of like, okay, that makes a lot of sense for a really good device. On top of the fact, in the Windows ecosystem, there's literally nothing like this, right? There are no other options. Your other options to get an iPad, which I've talked about before, is absolutely some of the best hardware I've ever seen, with a completely useless operating system and keyboard that I just can't use. I just can't. Same with Android. I just can't figure out how to use those in my daily life. Webcam is good on it too. Not as good as the Pro 13, of course, but this is using the same cellular phone technology, image processor on it. So it's a very good one. You got the full NPU. It's a full Copilot Plus PC. I like Recall. I like Click to Do. I like all that stuff. It's fun. I like it. It's a fun device, and it is a downgrade enough where it kind of makes sense from the Pro 13. But I think the name should have been different. I don't think they should have called it the Pro 12. I think they should just, I don't know, Surface 12-inch.
Yes, it's not because it's not Pro, but that's the problem. The Pro is their market. That's their brand, isn't it? It's not because it's a Pro Surface. It's just Surface Pro.
Yeah, which is kind of They should have Surface Go, Surface, and then Surface Pro, right? I feel like that makes sense.
This should be Surface Go Pro. That's what they should call it.
Yeah, or Surface Go Pro, right? Yeah. I mean, it's a mouthful, but that would have made more sense.
Yeah,
because I don't feel like this deserves the Pro name, and there it gets confusing. But if it had a different, because I mean, Apple has this.
Yeah,
they have the Air, they have the regular, they have the Mini, right? It's like confusing. I don't know which one's which. I'd have to go.
It's even more confusing right now, because when you refer to the Surface Pro 12-inch, you'd say it's Surface Pro 12, but then if you're talking about the Surface Pro 13-inch, you'd call it either Surface Pro 13 or Surface Pro 11. Because it's like, come on, guys, how have you messed this up so badly?
Well, to their credit, they did shift when the Surface Pro 11 came out. It was Surface
and nobody
Pro.
stuck with it.
Yeah, Surface Pro 11th edition was the name.
Yeah, but now the 12-inch is the Surface Pro 12-inch first edition.
Yes, yeah, and they call it that with Qualcomm.
With Qualcomm, yes, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a full name. It's like, which kind of implies maybe there might be an Intel version? I don't know. I don't know how I'm
As far
supposed
as
to
I'm
do that.
aware, at least not for this round.
Yeah.
These will be exclusive because I just don't think there's an Intel chip that can fit in a fanless chassis like the Pro 12 inches.
I will say also, finally, just using this just as a tablet with the pen is pretty cool. Like, if that's, and I can see for a lot of people, maybe that's what they want to use it for, like with OneNote and stuff like that. As a reader, I do find it neat. I do have a case from Kensington, which I'll do photos of and do a quick hands-on. That is it's a rubber protector cover that kind of goes around it. It's more of an industrial thing, but it's cool because it has a little hand strap on the back of it. And when you do that, it allows you just to kind of like stick it to your hand and walk around with the pen. It makes it really easy to kind of use it that way. So I think that's kind of a no-brainer too, if you're really kind of into that style. They also have a cool stand that is it's hard to describe. Again, I'll get photos of it, but it's with you stick the kickstand on this into a slot and then without the keyboard, and now it's like you just created like a 12-inch display for like a 12-inch monitor, and then you're supposed to use like a Bluetooth keyboard and a mouse, and you can use it as like your little mini PC setup, and then when you're ready to go, you just pull out the Surface. It's kind of a cool thing. A little bit limited usage. It's more enterprisey, but for those who are looking for like a really kind of cool mini computer setup, it's actually pretty cool. So
forgive
did
me
you
if
have
you've
any
already. Yeah, I was gonna say,
yeah.
forgive me if you've already mentioned this. Did you try lappability? Because I know with the keyboard not
Yeah.
lifting, that should be different, I guess.
Oh, I think my camera froze again.
It does look like it did, yeah.
I'll keep talking as I redo my monitor.
That's all right. I can vamp for a second if you want to fix that. So I actually had hands-on time with the Pro 12 earlier today. I was able to go to a briefing, and so I was able to get hands-on with the new Pro 12-inch and the laptop 13-inch. And they gave me the laptop 13-inch to take home and review, but unfortunately, I didn't get the 12-inch because Dan's already got the 12-inch Pro. So I did get hands-on time, and there was a couple of interesting things I did notice about it. One of them, because the keyboard doesn't lift anymore, it now has like a stretchy hinge, which I've never seen on a type cover before, or keyboard, whatever they call it these days. You can sort of slightly pull it, and I think it's for when you fold it around the back. Maybe I don't really know, but if I don't know if Dan's tried it, he can try it in a minute if he hasn't. He can just when it's attached to the tablet, if you just pull on the keyboard ever so slightly, it like has a hinge that not a hinge, but like the bit that attaches to the tablet slightly extends, and I couldn't figure out what the design reason for that was. I think now I'm thinking about it, I think it's because when you twist it all the way around, it can stretch around and lay flat on the back. Because that was, I remember, something that they mentioned as being a thing that this one can do. Whereas, I mean, the Pro 13-inch can do that too, but it's a bit different, and the hinge makes it a bit awkward to fold it all the way around. So maybe they've solved that with the Pro 12-inch. But I do really like the Pro 12-inch. Just looking at it face on, it's a really, really nice device. It does look an awful lot like an iPad, but that's good. I think the iPad is the gold standard for tablet design, and I think Microsoft has improved upon that by adding a kickstand and Windows, which I realize not everybody's going to tell you that. A lot of people think that iOS and iPadOS is better than Windows. I fully disagree. I think Windows is a better operating system than that. And I think the iPad I've always said if I could buy an iPad with a kickstand and Windows, I would. And this is what the Pro 12-inch is. It's an iPad with Windows and a kickstand and a nice type cover. I do find that the plastic fabric they're using on the Pro, the new keyboard is. I don't like the feel of it. I don't know what it is. It was making my fingers feel weird, and I can't explain what that sensation is. It's just it feels very waxy almost, and that just made me feel weird. I didn't like it. So that's probably not a good sign for me. But luckily, the laptop doesn't have that is fully metal. And while Dan's away, I guess we should probably move on and talk about the laptop 13. Because like I said, I did get to bring one home, which is nice because for those who don't know, these actually haven't launched in most regions yet. These launched June 10th in a lot of places. I believe they've launched in the US and Australia on May 20th. But for the rest of the world, including the UK, these don't launch for another couple of weeks. So it's good to get some hands-on time ahead of that. And so, yeah, we will be fully reviewing this. Like Dan has fully reviewed the laptop. I've only had literally an hour of it today so far. And so I can't really give you a full review. But I can give you my first impressions. And my first impressions are, it's actually really nice. The hardware is lovely. It is quite different from the laptop 7. I thought this was just going to be a smaller laptop 7, but it's not. The actual design of it is different. It's very much... it's rounder. Like if you look at the chassis, it is rounder. And I don't think I was expecting that, because if you take a look at the laptop 7 is very sort of sharp in its angles. Like it's a flat edge and a sort of angled bottom like here. Whereas on the 13-inch laptop, it's rounded. And it's actually more like a MacBook Air. Have you ever taken a look at a MacBook Air? I mean, if you look at that side on, I wouldn't blame you if you thought that was a MacBook Air. And I honestly think that's by design. And I wouldn't be surprised as well if the plan is to transition the flagship laptop to this design sort of going forward. Because there are some key changes to it, including the keyboard. The keys on it are a little bit rounder as well, which again is not on the laptop 7. The keys on the laptop 7 are quite sharp. They're quite square around the edges, on the corners. And so... yeah, there are some interesting design changes going on there. Dan's having to reboot his computer. So for those who don't know, Dan's system is interesting. He has I believe he uses a Dell monitor with a built-in webcam, but it sometimes just likes to give up. It just stops working. And so, yeah, he has to reboot his computer to get it to fix it. And so that's what he's doing right now. But yeah, we can keep going with the impressions on the laptop, because I do have a lot of thoughts on this device. I have some issues with it. Welcome back, Dan. Is your mic not working, or
is it? No,
oh yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Did lose the recording though, so good luck with that.
Oh, good. Every week we have an audio issue of some kind.
It's something with Dell's camera. I love this monitor. It's a 6K 32-inch, and has one of the best webcams I've ever used. But for some reason, the web camera, every once in a while, I don't know if it overheats or what, it just freezes. And then you have to just turn off the monitor. But that caused problems because of NVIDIA broadcast. So,
yeah,
just a nightmare.
So, yeah, as I was saying about the laptop 13, I do have some issues with it. Mainly the display. Okay, now to be completely honest, it's a nice display. It's probably one of the nicer 1080p screens I've seen. With an LCD back panel, that is. I think like the Pro 12-inch, as Dan mentioned, I wish colors were a bit punchier. But I think for me, clarity is okay. If you're working at a normal distance, it's not like I can pixel peep and see the pixels from a normal working distance. Sure, if you get close to it, you can see it, and it is there. And it isn't as clear as the laptop 7 and the Surface Pro, for sure. But at a normal working distance, it's a massive improvement over the Surface Laptop Go 3, which is what this essentially replaces. I do wish the display was 90 hertz. I don't know why they cheaped out on that. This is only 60 hertz at max, which the Pro 12-inch has 90 hertz. I wish they'd done that here, because I think that would make this device feel a lot more modern.
Yeah, but to be fair, like, I get it.
I can tell the difference.
See, I can't. Like, I really find it difficult with 90 hertz. By the way, I should mention, when I was doing the battery test, I was running at 90 hertz. So, and again, out of the box, they ship it with 60 hertz.
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, as I was saying, as you was away, Dan, I noticed that there's actually quite a few design changes with this smaller laptop. It isn't identical to the laptop 7. It's not just a smaller laptop 7. It's got a rounder chassis, and it's got rounder keys as well, which the laptop 7 doesn't have. And so I'm wondering if, because I think it's fair to say it's likely that the next gen flagship Surface Pro will probably adopt the design of the 12-inch Pro that just now launched. I am wondering if the next gen laptop flagship will also basically adopt this design as well, because it is different enough. It looks more like a MacBook Air. It's got a flatter base. I do really like how compact and nice and sort of lightweight this device is. The 13-inch screen size, honestly, in a silo, if I'm just looking at this screen, I can't really tell the difference between this and my 13.8-inch laptop 7. Yes, of course, the 0.8-inch is a difference and it's whatnot. But if you buy this device on its own, you're not going to feel like it's a small laptop like the Surface Go. The Surface Laptop Go with its 12.4-inch screen is small. And you sit with it and you go, yeah, this is a small laptop. Whereas this just feels like a 13-inch laptop. And it's, because it is. And it's lovely. The keyboards are great. The trackpad is haptic, but It's really nice. I thought it was haptic.
No,
I was like,
mechanical.
sorry, yes, it's not haptic. It's a mechanical trackpad. But I thought it was haptic. It's so nice. It's such a satisfying. I've never had one that feels so satisfying before. So this is great. And so yeah, it's nice. I just don't like how the screen is in an awkward resolution where Windows has to natively scale by default at 125%. This is my lifelong belief. If a Windows laptop ships with display scaling of 125%, change it. Either go down to 100 or go up to 150 because 125 looks horrendous. Text renders poorly, icons look bad. This is a thing nobody will notice apart from me, but this is the first Surface to ever ship with 125% scaling by default. And that's because the resolution they're using is a little bit awkward at this screen size. And that's a bit annoying. But 150% scaling is too big. It makes me look like I'm blind and I can't see anything. And then 100% is too small. I just can't. It's just too small for this screen size. So I'm stuck at 125, and I'm just going to have to live with it. But other than that,
don't worry, you'll age into 150.
Yeah, I can't wait. But yeah, so those are my first impressions. It's actually really nice. Again, this is a laptop that was designed to go on sale in regards to discounts, and so I wouldn't buy this at $899 because the laptop 7 flagship has been seen on sale for as low as $799. And so I think it makes no sense to buy this at full price. Wait for sales. Then this will come down $699, $599, even $549. If you can get this for $599, I think that's a good deal. This is a really nice package for that price.
Nice. Yeah, it's a cool device. I wouldn't mind. I haven't tried or even touched that one. So actually, I haven't even tried the Surface Laptop 7 either. So
you'd like the Laptop 7.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I don't know. It's cool stuff. But yeah, same thing with the pricing on that. Once it goes on sale, I think it makes much more sense. So, but we look forward to your full review. But I mean, your impression of the processor, right? Snapdragon X Plus. Did you talk about that?
Not really, because I've not really had a chance to really give it a go. I mean, okay. I have reviewed other laptops with the X Plus, and I think I've said on the podcast before, X Plus is more than enough for what I need a computer to be doing. Web browsing, writing, listening to music, a light bit of editing in Photoshop and video, and that's basically all I need. The X Plus in this laptop will be more than capable of doing, especially since you've still got a fan, so it can even sustain that performance as well, which is really nice. And so, yeah, I'm not worried about performance on this device, and I don't think many people should, unless you're somebody who's really looking for a beefy, powerful laptop. You're not looking at a Surface anyway. You're looking at something with a dedicated graphics card and likely an Intel chip. So,
yeah, and for record or reference, I should say, this processor, the X Plus, is roughly equivalent. It's actually slightly faster multi-core, slightly slower in single core, but otherwise it balances out to a Core i7 H series processor. That's Gen 1 from Intel. But still, the H series is their bigger one that's out there. So like that's a pretty powerful chip to have in something like that's a 12-inch fanless tablet as well as that smaller laptop. So that's for performance. That's why I feel like some people still don't believe this with the Qualcomm Snapdragon stuff, but yeah, it's as fast as a Core i7 H series, which is, I think, really, really good. And as Zach said, for most of the stuff we do, it's more than enough. So granted, we'll always take more speed, and Qualcomm should be giving us that later this year. But for now, I think it's great.
Yeah. So let's move on to some Windows news, Windows 11 news outside of Build, although we'll start with something that's kind of tied to Build. There was a session at Build this year that talked about creating seamless cross-device experiences on Windows. But in that session, they briefly demoed a feature that I don't believe has been announced yet. And then in the actual upload or an edit of the session after, they actually removed this demo. But they showcased a feature called Cross-Device Resume, which sort of intuitively integrated with the taskbar. So the example they used was with Spotify. And so you could open Spotify on your phone, play a song, or be somewhere in the app playing a song. And then on your PC, I assume powered by Phone Link, the taskbar, the same app icon on your phone will appear on your desktop. So in this case, Spotify. So the Spotify icon appears on the taskbar. It's sort of separated with a divider. And when you go to hover over it, it says this app is currently open on your phone. Would you like to pick up where you left off on your PC? And clicking on it would open the Spotify app on Windows, not as a sort of remote stream from your phone, but the actual Windows app for Spotify will open into the exact same place it is open on your phone, including where the music track is. So it will basically just pick up where you left off on your phone on your PC. That's a feature the Mac and iPhone has had for a long time. They call it handoff on Mac and iOS. And so Microsoft, it looks to be working on the exact same feature for Windows between Android and Windows PCs using Phone Link. And they're allowing developers to partake in this. It's an SDK, so an app developer can do this for, say, Slack. I believe one of the apps that looks to be getting this support is WhatsApp. And so you'll be able to be open in a chat on WhatsApp, whether it be a video call or just a conversation. And you can see that icon appear in your taskbar on your PC, and you can just click it, and it will take you straight to where you are on your phone, but on your PC. And that is awesome. That's one of the sort of really cool ecosystem features that Apple has had for a long time that's finally coming to Windows. And I'm very excited to see that make its way. So yeah, there's something that they haven't officially announced, but they did demo and then remove the demo, which is really weird. But yeah, that's pretty cool to see. Microsoft has also announced a couple of updates to the Paint snipping tool and Notepad apps on Windows 11. So Paint is getting a sticker generator. So I don't know why. So they call this...
Samsung has this, and I don't get the appeal, but
Yeah.
maybe I'm missing something.
So Microsoft says that it's a new AI-powered feature that lets you create custom stickers by simply typing a prompt. They said from there you can type in a description of the sticker you want to create, like a cat wearing sunglasses, and hit generate. Paint will then generate a set of unique stickers based on your prompt, and once the stickers are generated, you can click on any one of them to instantly apply it to your canvas. Copy the sticker for use in other applications or save it for later. Yeah, I don't know who's asking for this, but somebody got paid to build that, and so I guess well done them. They're also adding an object select tool. Again, every day Paint gets closer and closer to Photoshop. I'm certain I probably don't need Photoshop anymore. I think Paint can just do all the things I need it to do, which is really kind of cool. And then Snipping Tool is getting an interesting feature called Perfect Screenshot, which, let's see what it does. Once activated, Perfect Screenshot will intelligently resize based on the content in your selection. You can also quickly enable Perfect Screenshot by holding the Control keyboard shortcut after invoking the Snipping Tool. So that's interesting as well. And then they're also strangely adding a color picker to Snipping Tool. So you'll be able to open Snipping Tool. If you're trying to find the exact hue of a color, or the hex number or whatever it is, you can open the color picker within Snipping Tool and just hover over the color you're thinking about or looking at, and it will tell you what that is, which is really nice. Because I think I've had to download third-party apps to do that before, so now that's nice to have it built into the operating system. And then last but not least, Notepad is getting the ability to write new content in Notepad using generative AI. This is a feature we've sort of known is coming, and it's now officially in testing. The new write feature helps you quickly draft text based on your prompt, making it easy to start from a blank page or build upon existing content with AI-powered assistance. Yeah, so there you go. Those are the big updates coming to Windows 11 soon. Those changes to Paint, Snipping Tool, and Notepad are in testing with insiders as of today. That resume feature is yet to be announced, but I assume it will be announced very, very soon. So pretty cool.
I'm waiting for Paint and Photoshop and other apps where, like we have right now, Copilot Vision, right? You can kind of see what's on your screen and all this. I want to get to the point, and I'm sure this is Microsoft's goal, where I have something open in Paint or the photo editor, and I can ask Vision to be looking at that picture, and I could be moving my cursor around, be like, could you remove this thing here, this car in the background? Or could you, take the shadow out of this area here? And I'm circling with the cursor where the AI sees, what you're talking about, what you're pointing at, and then you're asking it to do a specific edit where it can then act on it and do it. Like, I think we'll get there eventually. It has to be the long-term goal of this stuff, but that really changes like video and photo editing for a lot of people, right? There's no reason why I can't shoot a 5-minute video on my computer, except for the camera crashing. But like, shoot that video with me making stumbling things, putting pauses in there, restarting, and then letting AI edit it, and me telling it, hey, edit this like with the modern style of videos where it's rapid, fast cuts, interject B-roll of this here and there, this and that, and like give it those specific prompts, and it just goes and does that video edit for me, right? Like, why again can't that be a thing? And I'm sure it will be. And when that happens, I don't know, but that's going to be a game changer, especially for, everybody really is into like the TikTok thing and YouTube and making their own videos. But a lot of it requires now, especially when a YouTuber gets big enough, they have a separate editor, right? And they take the files and then they just go through that stuff and rapidly do it and get the video up there while the content creator focuses on that. AI could replace video editing, though. You could argue a human video editor will still do nuance and cool things and be at the cutting edge of creation with different types of edits. But for most people who are just looking to get something out there that looks halfway decent, AI could solve that problem for a lot. And I think that's kind of cool. Saving with photos and everything else too. I don't know. I think hopefully that's where Microsoft is working towards that. Maybe they'll bring back Movie Maker.
Well, that's what's interesting. Like, because again, at Google I/O, Google announced VO3, which is an incredible leap forward in video generative tech. It can even now pair audio with it. So these AI generated videos of people talking now has AI generated audio of that talking with audio matched with the mouths and stuff. Like, it is a huge improvement over VO2 and VO1. Microsoft didn't announce anything like that. They didn't announce anything of the sort like that at Build. And it's like, what is Microsoft? I don't really even know what Build was for this year.
This isn't a consumer facing technology, but I just thought it's a similar application. I forgot the name of it too. There's a Swedish movie that came out, I believe, a year ago or something like that. It has to do with UFOs. And it's very Spielbergian is what I heard, in that type of like family friendly format. But what's interesting is it was shot in Sweden and the actor spoke Swedish, but I heard that the dubbed version for the US, they used AI to change their mouths.
Yeah, Netflix is doing this as well.
Yeah, which is like, okay, that fixes a lot of issues. Imagine if you can go back and redo like the classic cliche Godzilla films, right? Yeah. But if you take the old Japanese Godzilla films and fix it so that happens, like again, not only could you do that, you could use, of course, AI upscaling and improve the image quality and all that kind of stuff. Like this really does open so much possibility. We've already seen this stuff too with like they find super old video footage from like the 20s and 30s and they colorize it and they stabilize the image, clean it up. Like it's mind-blowing because you see people like the 20s walking around and it's not that super high frame rate, right? They use the fill frame to make it look like it's more normal and stuff. Yeah, there's so much potential for this stuff. I think it's going to be kind of really cool.
Yeah, I think AI use in movies and TV like that is interesting, and that is genuinely helpful because that would cost so much money and it would take so much time to do that with CGI manually. It's good to have AI to be able to just bait in the mouth slightly differently with a different audio track behind it to make it look like they're speaking a different language. I think that's a great use of AI, and I'm not upset at that being used in movies and TV, and as long as it looks good. Which in the examples that I've seen on Netflix, I can't remember the name of the show I was watching. It was one about some disaster, some tsunami that came to an island. I can't remember what it is now, but they were using, and I didn't notice for about 2 episodes. And I was looking at it. There was some moment because obviously when characters turn around and look away, that's when you can see it trip up, and it's like, oh, the mouth's moving differently now because they might have a beard or they're drinking something, and that's when it messes up. And by mess up, I mean it just reverts back to whatever they were doing in the actual scene. Like it's not, it just removes the AI generated mouth movement when it can't tell what it should be doing. But there were a few instances where I noticed that the mouth was changing. It wasn't matching to the audio tracks on there. And I was like, is this not English natively? And I if it weren't for those AI sort of mishaps, it would have been perfect. And so, this tech's getting better all the time. And so
which it's like anytime you point that out, it's like, okay, give it a year, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that stuff will definitely go away.
Yeah.
Although 2 things. One I could think of, like in movies, they just start shooting it like, all right, no one turn their head when you're talking, always face the camera. We can, but I one thing again, this gets back to individual creators, like people who shoot like independent movies. Like if you shoot like a movie like in Yeah, and
Yeah.
you're like in Turkey or something like that, and it's like some almost student film. You can now distribute, or will be able to distribute, your film globally, because that's a thing now, right? Increasingly, you don't need studios. You need them for the promotion aspect, getting it to theaters, but theaters are slowly going away. But you would be able to dub your movie into all those languages, but have it so the mouths look like it was shot in that. People won't even know the difference. That opens up, because there is still that aversion. People don't like reading subtitles. They don't like the way dubbing looks, right? But that helps indie developers a lot, especially also with the CGI stuff.
Yeah.
So I really think for individual creators, this AI stuff is actually going to be pretty massive.
Yeah, I will say I'm a lot more against fully AI generated scenes and shots, like the VO3 stuff Google was showing off earlier this week. They were basically showing off full scenes with like people talking. The whole thing, every frame is generated. The people, the setting, the background, the noise. It's all AI generated. That I'm not a huge fan of, and I don't see myself ever wanting to go and see a film that's entirely AI generated. But I am a big fan of AI enhancing something. So like as you know, the mouse movement is a perfect example of that. Or like, just making a shot seem more impactful. If say they was only able to shoot a close up and they want to in post make it so that they're like in some sort of exploded house and stuff, as long as it looks good and the AI generation has done a good job there, I'm happy for things like that to take place. But I'm not a fan of the idea of this whole movie is AI generated, so if everything on the script down to the visuals, I'm not interested. I will not ever look at that. I'm not interested in that sort of product. But I am interested in AI as an enhancement tool versus AI as the product, I guess is the best way to put it. I'm just don't want that. And so I'm very interested. It's only a matter of time before the first big blockbuster movie. I'm sure it's already happened, really, without anyone really noticing. But I'm very interested to see the first big blockbuster that uses AI heavily to generate visuals or whatever it may be, because that's going to create so much conversation around, who owns this? Like, does the studio own it? But it's AI generated stuff, so it's taking inspiration from other things the AI's already seen. Like, who owns that copyright? And does it even look good?
Wait till they start recreating actors.
Yeah, well, apparently, so Fortnite just released an update with Darth Vader in it, obviously voiced by James L. Jones, who's since passed. But he apparently gave permission to Disney. They took a bunch of recordings of his voice before he passed, and he was happy for them to just to generate his voice post death. And so Darth Vader in that game.
That's fan service right there. He just knew. He's like, listen, only I can be Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And I'm going to live on forever as that character, while also delivering that continuity for fans, right?
Yeah. And I don't see the point. I don't see the problem if he gave permission and also his family and estate continue to earn money from the continued use of his voice. If it's one of those situations where the company goes, "Oh, it's in your contract. We own your voice now, and you don't get a penny."
That'll be
this. That's bad.
Yeah, that's something that people have to be smart about negotiation. To get that. And then of course it's the flip side of this, of course, is it's going to be increasingly difficult to know what's real for news footage, right?
I've seen some convincing things of President Trump just like saying stuff that he clearly never said, and not just Trump, people in the politicians in the UK, Elon Musk, some random celebrities, just very, very convincing video. If you were an older person who wasn't really into technology,
right,
you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. I've become really good at picking up on the signs, whether or not a video is AI generated. But not everybody is able to do that. And I think that's going to become a skill that needs to be taught in schools, if we're honest, 10, 15 years from now.
It's also going to be reliant on these platforms to put their own, services.
But it's so easy to bypass watermarks and whatnot. Right?
But you can use AI to detect AI. OpenAI
I guess.
OpenAI has said they've created tools to do this.
It's just annoying that everyone's going to have to be taught to check that. It's like,
well, I'm not saying that like they need to be taught to check that. I'm saying you put it into the background of the service, the app you're using. So say app,
I see what you mean. Yeah.
And then when you upload a video, it scans it. And if it's deemed created by AI, two things happen. One, it gets marked as that, and you're allowed to post it, knock yourself out. Two, you're allowed to contest it if it's a false negative, right? Or false positive, because there has to be a way to sort of, challenge that to say, no, it's real. Here's the original footage here, whatever. So I think that's the solution there. That's actually the only solution here, but that is a technically feasible thing. It will be a little bit of a race, in other words, some company may come out with an AI that's slightly ahead of the AI checker, but then the AI checker will learn and catch up to it, and this kind of thing. So, but that's no different than today, right? Like when Photoshop came out, it was the same thing, right? We see Photoshopped images all the time, and that's affected stuff, but it hasn't completely destroyed confidence in images and stuff. I'd also say when major events happen, there should be now a lot of multiple angles, right? If a crash happens, something happens in a stadium, there's always going to be here are 30 smartphone captures of it, right? All those can't be AI created of the same thing. So it'll be able to sort of validate stuff from different angles.
There's even already examples of things like AI influencers and AI, supermodels and stuff that people subscribe to, and are fully aware. These aren't. I don't believe that a lot. I mean, I'm sure some of them do hide the fact that they're AI generated, but a lot of them don't. A lot of them are like, I'm an AI generated as this, influencer, and they have thousands and thousands of followers on Instagram and TikTok and stuff. No, they don't. People don't care. It's just they just want to look at this stuff.
I see it in a lot of in Microsoft News, MSN, the webpage. I'll be scrolling down. There's a lot of kind of ads, and they use a clearly AI generated person or model standing in for it, and it's getting a little. That does feel lazy.
I think this is my problem. I don't like AI generated people. I don't like it. There is an uncanny valley to it that I can't not see, and that's why I'm so good at picking up on the AI generated videos of people talking and stuff, because I can tell. I don't know what it is. I couldn't describe to you what it is in the videos that makes it so obvious to me, but I can tell when a person is AI generated and how they're talking and stuff. But on the flip side of that, AI generated videos of landscapes and sort of B-roll and stuff like that, amazing. I could never tell you that an AI generated video of a cliff top with the sea crashing into the rocks at the bottom of it. Those look great, and I couldn't tell you if that's AI generated or not. I never could. Those look fantastic, and I've said it before. The B-roll market, the stock video market is dead. AI is coming for you. That's the end of that for that business. So yeah.
Interesting. All right. Speaking of AI, we're going a little long here, so we'll kind of go through this quickly. But OpenAI buys Johnny Ive's company to make AI hardware. Man, Johnny Ive, he makes all this money from Apple, leaves Apple, forms his own companies, and he formed his own design firm and all this. And then I think he did something. I don't know if this was a separate company he did, but then OpenAI, they started working together. And it's goes down that route and turned into, all right, OpenAI is going to buy them for, I think it was $6.5 billion or something like that. And the goal here is for OpenAI to make some kind of Johnny Ive inspired hardware. And it's not a smartphone.
No,
but it's not a computer. We don't know what it is. We don't know what it looks like, but it's going to be, I'm sure it'll be very pretty looking. It'll be very cool.
And it'll be thin.
It'll be very thin, rounded corners, hopefully. I'm not going to completely slam this, especially since we literally know nothing about it. I give it a 50-50 shot. I think whatever gets announced will be intriguing. I think it'll look cool. And I think there'll be that immediate discussion about, is that something we want? And I think it'll be interesting, but I'm also like I said, 50-50. I don't know if it'll necessarily be a success, because we're going to have it in our smartphones. We already do have it in our smartphones. A lot of us like using it because it's on a keyboard there. Shoot, it even shows up in your keyboard now. I was typing in WhatsApp the other day, and I think it was with the Samsung. It started as I was talking to my friend, it started populating, you do the canned responses.
Yeah,
it started it was reading my conversation and then suggesting replies based on that, in real time, which is really kind of creepy. So you have AI there. You already have it in the photo editing apps. So you have it within the apps, and then you have it within the phone as your default assistant. you can, of course, smartwatches are the natural extension of that when you don't want to take your phone out of your pocket. And now we're going to talk about Google XR glasses. Here's another place where you can definitely have AI. And then when you get home, it's definitely on your computer. It's going to be in your TV. So where does a wearable device fit now into all of this? So you're going to walk around with a phone, your smartwatch, your glasses, you're going to have your laptop, and now you're going to have another device that does what? That is so significantly different and better than all those devices, either individually or combined. Go, Zac. Tell me what your thoughts.
It's got to be brain implant.
Yeah, brain implant. Okay, I did not see that coming. If that's what it is, sure, that does. To be fair, that will happen.
Yes,
but I don't think
absolutely.
that's this.
No, not yet. This is an interesting announcement because they're making a big deal about it, and Sam Altman published this soppy announcement letter on the OpenAI website. Sam Altman's vibe is strange to me. I don't vibe with his vibe, I guess, is what I'm trying to go for. I'll read some of what he said here. He said 2 years ago, Johnny Ive and the creative collective Love From quietly began collaborating with Sam Altman and the team at OpenAI. A collaboration built upon friendship, curiosity, and shared values quickly grew into ambition. Tentative ideas and explorations evolved into tangible designs. The ideas seemed important and useful. They were optimistic and hopeful. They were inspiring. They made everyone smile. They reminded us of a time when we celebrated human achievements, grateful for new tools that helped us learn, explore, and create. It's like, what are you talking about? They're building some device. That's what they're saying.
Right.
They're building some AI powered device, and it is, to be fair, it's an interesting conversation because I think a lot of people do think that whatever is next in regard to AI and hardware will replace the smartphone, which Dan's saying is unlikely, and I do kind of agree that the smartphone is a sort of form factor that is perfected. It's in everyone's lives, and I don't think people are asking for something else. And so whatever does come along next needs to be significantly better than what we have in a smartphone. It needs to be leaps and bounds better. It needs to be automatic. It needs to be ambient. It needs to be easier to use than a smartphone. It needs to. So the biggest barrier to entry for entry to a smartphone is the fact that I have to pull it out of my pocket. If I can get rid of that, then that I think has a chance of replacing the smartphone. And so what does that leave? It leaves either an implant or it leaves glasses or some kind of XR heads-up display thing. It has to, right? But then there's also the problem of, how do I interact with that display? Is it syncing with my phone? In which case, I might as well just have my phone. If it's its own self-contained headset or glasses, that's a massive leap forward. But then how do I interact with the contents that are in my vision? Can I reach out and touch them with my hand? Is it controlled by like a Ring remote or something like that? Like, how does this work? And so we're not there yet, I don't think. And Google did announce their XR glasses platform at I/O this week, which is very interestingly timed, I think. I would be shocked if OpenAI's product, their first product, isn't a pair of glasses. If it's not a pair of glasses, I will eat my hat because there's no way.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like that's the kind of the only way. If they did do something like that, sure, I agree. There's definitely potential there. We've always talked about on this podcast the potential for smart glasses and what it can do. I'm still, I don't know. It's sort of just like the Alexa devices out there. It's like the reason why people don't go shopping on them is because you want to sit in front of a screen. And the bigger the thing you want to buy, the bigger the screen you want to check it out on, right? Yeah. You're buying toilet paper, smartphone's fine. You're buying a house, you want a nice computer to look at.
Ideally, I want to be at the house when I buy it.
Yeah, even that, right? Even better. So there is that hands-on thing. I still have this thing sometimes where I'll call up Copilot on my phone, the voice thing, and it's like, "How can I help you, Daniel?" It's got a British accent because I made it sound smart. And then I'm like, I almost pause. I'm like, I forgot. Wait, what? For me, it's easier to get my thoughts together and type it out at my own pace. But I feel almost like a pressure, even though I know the AI is smart enough now where it'll get around all that stuff and work around it with me. But I still feel weird talking to it. I'm not really comfortable with talking to stuff necessarily, unless it's giving a very specific short command. So hopefully it's not something like that. Also, the voice stuff is you can only use that so many places, right? No one wants to be like in a supermarket and just like talking to their device. That's a little weird. Um,
Yeah, but
I
that's
don't know.
why I think glasses and a heads-up display is the next step, because then it is discreet. You don't have to talk to it.
Yeah,
You can just navigate it with, well, I guess if you're reaching out, or if it is like a Ring remote or something that you can control in your pocket. I don't know how what the input method for these devices are going to be, but I assume the end goal is you'll be able to basically just touch what you're looking at with your hands, surely. But that requires so much extra hardware. That's why the Vision Pro is so big, because it has so many cameras, so it can track what you're doing with your fingers. And same with the HoloLens back when that was a thing. And every VR headset that is doing tracking, it has to have cameras on it, like multiple cameras, to be able to detect the position of your hands and map it to what you're looking at on your glasses or lens. And we're not there yet with glasses. The Meta Ray Bans, which are the currently most popular AI wearable,
yeah, they don't do
um,
that.
they don't have hand tracking, and I don't believe these Android XR glasses will have hand tracking either. That's something that we're yet to figure out. And I believe Meta has shown off a pair of glasses that can do this, but they're big, bulky glasses, and everyone will be able to tell that you're wearing some sort of computer on your face. And so we're still not there. We're still not there. I think the ironic, actually, no, not even Google Glass had hand tracking, did it? I don't remember what Google
No,
Glass
it
is.
didn't. No,
It was
no.
just you
There's just,
touched it, yeah, like that. Well, yeah, you touched it with your hand. But yeah, so actually, we should probably move on to the Google I/O stuff, because
oh,
that was.
hold on. I
Sorry,
was
go
just
on.
going to say quickly that someone in comments is saying that there was a report today that one of OpenAI's devices will be a necklace with an iPod shuffle form factor. I don't know
We've
if
already
that's
seen this from
yeah.
Humane, right? That's basically that. It's not on a necklace. It's just something that's stuck to you.
Yes, yeah. There's actually a story on Engadget here that was according to the Wall Street Journal. Um,
Well, RIP, OpenAI just spent 6.5 billion on something that will fail.
It will be fully aware of its environment and the user's activities that will be unintrusive and could either be carried around in one's pocket or placed on the desk. The executive also believes that it's bound to become one of people's core devices after a laptop and a phone. According to
Laptop,
the
phone,
journal,
and necklace.
yeah, I don't know if it's a necklace. I don't know if that's correct, but according to the journal, it won't be a phone, and that's one of Ives Altman's goals is to wean people off screens. That's not going to happen, which means it most likely
Yeah.
wouldn't come with a display.
Don't get me wrong. It's a good cause to have. The idea of trying to get people off their screens does make sense, and I do agree with that. But the problem is, this sounds like a device that will require a phone to function. Like, unless it has LTE built in, and
Right.
it quite literally doesn't need an external device to be able to sync information from it, doesn't seem likely. It seems like for it to be useful, it's going to need an app on your phone. And in which case, what are we doing? Why are we here?
They expect to ship 100 million units and ship it faster than any company has ever shipped 100 million of something new before.
Oh my god!
Wow, they're really
Yeah,
setting the bar high here. If they don't do that, um,
that's
yeah,
shocking.
Humane had that pin, right, and HP
Yeah.
bought them.
Okay. The
Um,
the the only way I can see this being success is if it's cheap as hell. If it's $50, sure, 100 million they will sell 100 million of them. If it's $400, no one's buying that. So yeah, let's see. Let's see what happens. But I don't. I find more value in glasses than a pendant or like a square that you stick in your pocket. I don't see
Altman
value in
said
that.
it isn't a pair of glasses,
Well, then he's made a mistake.
and that Ive has been skeptical about building something to wear on the body. I've referred to a new design movement, Altman said. It would amount to a family of devices, bringing up his fondness for how Apple has long integrated its hardware.
This is a
It's a bunch of
strange
like,
direction for them. I so thought they were going fully bionic, everything. Like everything's you're just going to be a robot eventually. That's where I thought OpenAI was going.
it's going to be a
But
bunch of Alexa devices.
it's got to be a speaker and a microphone. That's what it is. They're making a
You
microphone.
could be the family devices. One will be a range extender.
I think for a minute there, Apple was sweating. I'm going, oh my god, are we screwed? Is the iPhone dead? And now this has just come out. They're like, actually, don't worry about it. We're cool. We're fine. iPhone will be here for another
They want
decade
to
easily.
release it by late next year. So
Oh, it's not. It's so far away. Okay, why are we? Okay, this isn't news anymore. Okay, we're not talking about this again. How boring.
Talk about vaporware, right? Yeah, we
Yeah,
could all be
seriously.
dead by the time. Jeez.
That's insane. There's so much hype around it. This was on every tech outlet. This acquisition and this love letter that Sam Altman put up about Johnny Ive. It's like Christ. You think they're birthing the new iPhone? No, they're making a square with a microphone. Great.
Yeah.
Good luck, guys. Good luck. Well, okay, let's real quick talk about Google I/O because I just thought this Android XR stuff was very interesting. Now, Android XR isn't new. They announced that I want to say earlier this year or late last year, but we did finally get a demo of what they're building for glasses because we've already sort of seen it for the sort of Vision Pro competitor, their sort of VR headset with AR capabilities. But they finally did show off Android XR on actual glasses, like reading glasses. And it is a lot of what we were expecting it to be. Dan, do you remember the name of that company that Google acquired that you were very interested in?
North.
This is what they acquired North for. All of the demos of the Android XR stuff and glasses is very, very similar to the stuff North was showcasing a number of years ago before they were acquired. It's finally come back and it's finally being put to use on Android XR. And so things like, what am I looking at here? Or it can bring up notifications and it can show you directions and it can show you real-time language translation, so you can be talking to someone in a completely different language and in your glasses it will show you what they're saying in English, and then you can speak to them in English, and if they're also wearing glasses they can see what you're saying in their language. Awesome stuff. The demo was a little bit laggy. I think they just had internet connection issues, but they're working products. They have multiple people on stage walking around with them, reading transcripts of them and stuff. Like they weren't proof of concept. They do appear to be real working devices, and Google even announced a couple of partners who have committed to shipping Android XR glasses later this year, I believe. I can't remember the name of the brands now. But Gentle Monster and Warby Parker, so two quite big glasses makers, have committed to building Android XR devices, and this will compete directly with Meta's Ray-Ban, or the Ray-Ban Metas, or whatever they're called.
And the good thing about Warby Parker, besides being a pretty hip brand and increasingly found in shopping mall areas and everything like that, they tend to their whole thing is their frames are like $99, right? So they make things that are pretty affordable compared to designer frames and all that. So this should be able to keep the price down on some of this stuff, as well as you get the experience of going into the store. They can probably make a prescription, of course, and you can try them on and get that service there. So that's a pretty smart approach to this, I think.
Yeah, so Google says, equipped with a camera, microphones, and speakers, these glasses work in tandem with your phone, giving you access to your apps without ever having to reach in your pocket. And an optional in-lens display privately provides helpful information right when you need it. Pairing these glasses with Gemini means they can see and hear what you do, so they understand your context, remember what's important to you, and can help you throughout your day. So yeah, this is the sort of thing I've been wanting, right? I want a pair of glasses that can show me my notifications and directions to a place I'm going to and the price of a thing I'm looking at. Like that's what I want glasses to do. And it sounds like these devices will be able to do that. Obviously,
and X-ray power. See people's clothes. Been waiting for that for 80 years.
Obviously, there's still the question of how do we interact with these? Like, is it just like a static thing that you can't really manipulate on the screen, or we don't really know much about it yet, but it's a thing that's coming and I'm very excited for this, and I will probably buy it if I could talk, probably buy a pair, because I do wear reading, I call them reading glasses, but I do need them to see. So I will be interested. I am one of those people who are very
you look like Johnny Ive now.
Yeah, I do. I'm building a square, so
I'm building a square. Yeah, it's funny, like I don't like wearing glasses because I've said this before, like I think 9 out of 10, I just don't look good in them. So now I have to go through this whole process. Like I want to get LASIK done. I often don't wear my glasses even while I'm driving because I can get by. Like my last trip to New York, did it without my glasses, the whole thing. So I had to put them on just to see the Uber license plate to make sure that was, but otherwise I was able to navigate the airport just fine. So the idea of like putting on glasses, especially, I don't know if I can do the thick ones. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think it'll be cool. I'm not 100% sold on having my apps and all that kind of stuff, but I guess for some people they're going to want that. So it's funny because Like here's Google and XR. They're like, we want to put a screen right in front of your eyeballs 24/7. And then you have like Johnny Ive and Sam Altman over there, like, we want to wean people off of screens. It's just
Yeah.
like these are going very diametrically different directions and visions. I actually, in that sense, hope the OpenAI one works because I've been getting away from screens as much as I can, or
Yeah.
using them for a very specific function, like watching a video or reading, but no more. So
Yeah. I was going to say, yeah, our friends at Xfil have announced that they're going to make a pair of Android XR glasses. I assume those would be more. Actually, I don't know. Maybe they will have the see-through display. I don't know. But that's Xreal is on board as well. So yeah, Google's really moving ahead with this XR stuff, which is hilarious because Apple's been rumored for a long time now. So that's where the goal is for Apple, right? Vision Pro was the first step, and they eventually want to make a pair of glasses. Sounds like Google's already there, or just about. And so, what's Apple again? Apple, what are you doing? You're behind in another category. What is happening?
$3,500 wearable computer
Yeah.
that basically looks like your laptop screen, but it's like, okay. Yeah, that was they only wasted like what 10 billion on like
Yeah, it's just a small sum of 10 billion
on R&D instead of building the thing everybody's interested in, which is AI. Yikes. Oh well. We'll see what happens. All right. Before we go quickly, you got the Galaxy Watch Ultra. I'm actually wearing mine because I usually take it off and put on my regular watch, but I just haven't had the chance yet today. But I'm a huge fan of it. There was actually, I was really mad at it like a couple of weeks ago. There was a really annoying bug that they introduced where when I'm at the gym, I use it specifically, of course, to monitor my heart rate, but the timer function as well. I take like 60-second breaks. So I'm sitting there recovering and I look at my watch and see how long it's been. The raise to wake feature would turn on and your timer would take upwards of 10 seconds to catch up to where it was. It would just be frozen.
Oh.
And then it would start. Could you imagine how infuriating this is at the gym where that's all you're doing is constantly looking at your watch as a timer? And I thought I was going mad. I reset my watch a couple of times and all this. And I finally went online and people are like, Samsung was like, we don't know what's going on, but you can try to clear the cache of it. So I'm doing this like booting it into Android mode, into this like developer thing, clearing it, and none of it fixed. But I think eventually they rolled out a software update and it fixed it. So once again, it's working great. But I'm curious about your initial impressions with it and what you think. Also, why'd you get it? Compared to the Fit that you're using.
So my initial impressions are I do really like it. I like the hardware. I like how rugged it looks. I do like the orange accents on it. I am getting used to the button layout because for some reason intuitively I feel like the circle button should be the home button, but it's not. It's the action button, which takes you to, I think it's set to like workouts by default.
That was weird.
So the home button is the top button. So that's taken me a little bit to get used to. But it's super customizable. You can customize what the buttons do and stuff, other than you can't set the middle button as the home button, which is really frustrating, but you can make it do other things, which is, I guess, nice. The screen on it's gorgeous. I love the screen. The screen is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a big watch. It's a 47mm face, but then I don't think that even accounts for the sort of square outer edge of the watch. Yeah. I'm a little bit worried it's too big for my wrist and it just looks unwieldy.
You get used to it. I was surprised too, although it is comfortable to wear. I'll say that. And they have that cool strap change system. My camera froze again.
It did. Just leave it. We're at the end. So
yeah, they do have that cool strap changing system, and there's like so many straps available that you can buy from Amazon. So many watch faces for customization. It's kind of addicting in that sense.
Yeah, so far, I've only had it for a couple of days. Battery life is much better than the old Galaxy watches for sure, but it's nowhere near the Fit 3, and I wasn't expecting it to be. The Fit 3 is a beast. It can last basically 7 to 10 days, really, the Fit 3. The Galaxy Watch, I think I'm on track to probably do 3.5 days, because I usually have the always-on display off on watches, because I know people say, oh, watch, you should be able to see it all the time. If it's down by my waist, I'm not looking at it, so the screen could be off. And so I usually turn off ARD on most of my watches anyway. So yeah, battery life is pretty good. I do have LTE set up with it because the last smartwatch I
Wow.
had was the Pixel Watch 3, but my carrier didn't support it, so I wasn't able to use LTE. So
Yeah, they make it really easy to set it up.
I've set up LTE, and it's nice. I like I do like the idea of being able to leave the house to go to like the store, or to go on a run and not have to bring my phone. I do
So
like that.
yeah, for one, I definitely don't run because I hate running. But I leaving the house without my phone is like up there with leaving my house without my wallet. To me, it's just
Sure.
like
Yeah.
heart, anxiety. So like I try to convince myself to get LTE, but I haven't pulled the trigger because I really can't justify any use case scenario where I'm going to do that. Um, but I get it. For some people, it definitely is a cool feature. Yeah, if you run a lot, and yeah, that makes total sense then.
Yeah, I see. So the reason why I did spring for the Galaxy Watch Ultra is because I got a good trade-in deal. I had an old Galaxy Watch Active 2 sitting about, which is worth like $20 these days. But Samsung were taking $100 for it. And so I was like, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, you can have that. And so I was able to get the Galaxy Watch for £300, which is quite a bit cheaper than what it retails for. And the other reason why is because I do kind of want to start sort of testing the waters with the idea of leaving the house without my phone. If I'm still reachable on my watch with LTE and I'm able to make a call or send a text through WhatsApp, because Wear OS does have WhatsApp as an app, and so you can do all your chatting and stuff on your
Yeah.
watch without having your phone nearby, which is really nice. I am sort of getting to a point where I kind of want to start testing the waters there and see if I can, go out for drinks with some friends in the evening and just bring my watch. And so that's why I did. That's why I sprung for the Galaxy Watch Ultra, because for some reason it's the only watch, or one of the only watches on my carrier that supports LTE. It's like, okay, sure, I'll go for that. And yeah, but so far it is really nice. It is, like I said, quite a bit big, and I don't know if I can pull it off stylistically, but functionally it's great.
Yeah, no, I think you can spend so much time with it. It also has a lot of storage, so you can download your music offline.
Yeah.
You can do that from Spotify, which is really cool. There's just so many functions and features to play with. They literally customize everything. You can get into like cool profiles. Like every night at midnight, my phone goes into sleep mode, disables this, goes into a special night mode. Like you have special watch faces that have a night mode where it goes red. And it's really cool because it's like it won't blind you when you're looking at nighttime. When I get to my car, you can have it switch to, do you want notifications? You can have it pick a specific watch. Like with these profile switches, you could choose specific watch faces. So you can have different watch faces based on the thing you're doing and you're connected to. Like they have profiles with the Samsung phones where like you can set it up based on location. So I have a movie theater mode, and I put my movie theaters I like to go into. And when I show up to the theater, it just automatically puts my phone into that mode, turns on the lighting, turns off notifications and all that. Um, and I love the customizations. And like I said, the watch faces. What's cool is most of the watch faces, sometimes they'll be like 50 cents, there'll be $1 here and all that. Like I ended up just like every once in a while I get bored. I just go in the store and there's just like so many watch faces out there. And it allows you to customize it. And there's just like cool things. Like there's a third-party app for Tesla owners where you can put that stuff into the watch, and then you can have the feature. So I can like just look at my watch and turn the climate on the car on. I can warm it up. I can pop the trunk open. I could check the battery. Like you can do all that kind of stuff. It's a very powerful thing. And the health stuff I think is really important. The sleep tracking is great. You get both that sleep and recovery tracking. They have that new ages index, which measures, I don't want to get too much deep into it, but it's basically if you eat a lot of barbecued meats, basically where proteins grill, like, and they get really hot and they mix with sugars, it can create this acrylamide, I think it is, that like it's not supposed to be good for your system and it can build up and it has to do with aging and all that kind of stuff. But this supposedly tries to measure it. Of course, you have the EKG. You can try the body composition thing too, which is wild. You tell it your weight, and then you sit there and it's an impedance checker basically, and you put your fingers against the buttons. You have to hold it a very specific way for about a minute, and it's sending a current through you, and then it gives you your estimate on body fat and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if it's that accurate. I've had some wild things, but neat concept, right? But yeah, if you like gadgets, it's just, I think it's a lot of fun to play with. I think they did a great job with it. Yeah, the display is, someone I saw in your comments, so Zach asked about this on Twitter, and someone was saying Garmin all the way. And like, listen, no shade on Garmin. If you're a hardcore runner, there's nothing better, right? I agree with that. I think but I know Zach, he's not a hardcore runner. And it's like, but he likes gadgets and things with high resolution displays. And like for people who want a smartwatch first with a big focus on fitness, this makes way more sense. Because I don't know, I've had Garmin's in the past, and their OS I find was clunky, their app was messy. I just didn't like it, and it just did things I really wasn't interested in. Some of them have gotten better. Their top of the line one is really nice. It's also like $1,200, and it's just like, eesh. So I think you going with this, especially since you already have a Samsung phone, makes sense. You can also choose the widgets on your phone to add to the watch and health stuff, which is really kind of cool.
Yeah,
So,
and you can get like the battery indicator and your
yes.
steps and stuff on your lock screen, which is really nice.
Yeah, they did a really nice job with it, especially since it's their Gen 1. Yeah, big fan. Anyways, I think that about does it for the podcast. We could try to do Q&A with my frozen photo on the screen. Otherwise, we'll be back next week. You can follow us on Twitter, Blue Sky, Threads, and all that. Just look up Daniel Rubino, look up Zac Bowden, and we'll answer your questions there. As always, though, thanks for listening, and take care, everyone. Bye.
Awesome. So yes, if you have any questions, now's the time to put them in the chat. If there are no questions, we will leave. What would you say to Joe Lopez, the employee who disrupted Satya Nadella's speech at Bill for political reasons? It's my understanding that Microsoft has fired him as of today. Yeah, it does appear to be Microsoft's policy that if you disrupt any of their public events in a disruptive manner, you get fired. And yeah, the protests are currently ongoing. Well, they started at the 50th event and they've continued through Build as well. There's been, I think, few instances of protesters standing up in keynotes and sessions, shouting their message. And so I believe all of them will be let go or have been let go. And yeah, that Microsoft is showing no remorse in that regard. I think Microsoft came out and said that they have no evidence that they are working with the Israeli military. A lot of Microsoft employees disagree with that, and so this is why the protests.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of like, yeah, it's one of those things because they are not privy to what the Israeli military is actually doing with their software, because it's obviously kind of top secret. So that's kind of a little bit of BS thing. I can't see how some of their stuff isn't being used.
Right. Yeah.
As far as what I would say to him, I mean, listen, I've said it before, where that I think people who, no matter what your position on this stuff is, to get up and do that at an event, knowing very well you're going to lose your job and livelihood, is commendable. It's brave, right? It's using the freedoms we have in this country, what they're for. I'm 99% sure he knew the risk and what was going to happen and still took it. But and you also know doing that, people are going to hate you, right? Both for you're disrupting the event and they don't like that, regardless of the position. And then, of course, if people are going to hate you for your position, like to put yourself out there and like, know you're going to be taking that for a bigger cause is, most people won't do that. So I think it's brave of those people to do it. But they know the ramifications for it, and they're willing to take it, and I don't think they're going to necessarily complain about that, but they felt it was important. So
yeah, nobody's going in to do that and then being surprised that they've been fired after. I think they're fully aware that they're being let go as soon as they're done with the protest. And it wasn't just a few people standing up inside the keynote sessions and stuff. There was a crowd outside as well, outside protesting against the conference and Microsoft in general. And I do believe some even attendees were harassed is the wrong word, but certainly shouted at, I guess. I don't really know how to describe what happened, but yeah, a number of attendees have mentioned that they were sort of told off, I guess, by the protesters for being there and stuff. So, it's tough, isn't it? Because not everyone who's attending Build is, it's not their fault that Microsoft's tech's being used by the attendees' fault, that is, used by the Israeli military. But yeah, it's one of those situations where that's not great. But their message is strong and it needs to be heard. So yeah. Do you think Surface will create any new AI form factors in the future? So this is interesting because Yusuf Mehdi did an interview with Austin Evans, I think his name is, last year, where he mentioned that he thinks that where Microsoft will go next with hardware is AI wearables. And so that would imply that Microsoft is interested in building, say, glasses or a Square pendant or whatever it may be. Microsoft must be exploring that, because why would Yusuf Mehdi say that? Well, what is he referring to otherwise? So yeah, I mean, I guess maybe that is on Microsoft's agenda. I don't know when. I don't know if that's just something that they were toying about with internally and have no real intention to ship. But it does appear to be something that they have at least thought about. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see something eventually. And that would probably be the most experimental Surface hardware yet, assuming it's called Surface. They might not even call it a Surface. They could call it Copilot. Copilot eyes or something. I don't know. Should I still be holding out hope for a new Surface Go Snapdragon X? I think you'll be waiting a while if you are. I do think it will happen. I just don't think it's anytime soon. The Surface Go 4 is still fully in stock, still fully being produced, and I have not heard that there is a Go replacement, a Go 5 imminent. That could change. I should hear more soon, actually, in regards to what's next for Surface. But yeah, for now, no real sign. What are your thoughts of where Microsoft is going with regard to the consumer hardware space? The hardware accessories have came and went, and they're retreating from most Surface hardware. I think what Microsoft currently offers today is strong. Is strong. I do love the Laptop 7. I do think it's the best laptop you can buy. In regards to the sort of ultra class level laptops. Same goes for the Surface Pro. I think it's the best 2-in-1 Windows device you can buy. That doesn't mean to say Surface isn't boring now. I think Microsoft has very much perfected the traditional form factors, the form factors that work, the form factors people are most interested in. But for people like me who are interested in quirky, unique, weirder devices that sort of push the boat out a little bit, that's not really what Surface is offering, at least not now. Which is why I'm very interested in Android XR and the glasses Google just announced. That really appealed to me. And I wish it was Microsoft announcing that sort of thing, but at least currently they're not doing that. And so I do think the new direction for Surface is designed to prolong it. I think it's they want Surface to stick around, and the way to do that is to make it make money, and the way to do that is to make it predictable and easy for most people to pick up and buy. And so that's what we're seeing with Surface, and as a result, I do think Surface will stick around. I don't think it's going anywhere. I think it's going to solidify itself and cement itself as a staple in the industry, as the sort of the standard, the bar for Windows laptops and tablets.
I was supposed to ask you about the front camera on Laptop 7. Is it a lower resolution than the front camera on Surface Pro 9?
I believe
pretty
it
sure
is.
Yes.
Yes. I believe
I know the
9...
laptop. Yeah, laptops display and front-facing camera were always lower resolution than the Pro was.
Yeah, I think the Pro's 1440p and the laptop is 1080p. Yes, it's a 1080p camera on the Laptop 7, and I think the Pro 9 is 1440p.
That said, because of the ARM chip, the new Laptop 7's camera, and of course the Laptop 13's camera should be still better than probably the Surface Pro 9's camera in terms of overall image quality.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is the anti-glare layout on the Surface Pro 11 Intel version significantly better for working with text? Black letters on white background in Word, reading PDFs, etc. Is OLED or LCD better for that use case? So I've not had much time with the anti-reflective version of the Pro 11. I have seen it, and honestly, I couldn't really. It is less reflective for sure, but it's not matte. Like, it's not a matte screen. It's very much still a glass, and it still shows reflections. It just doesn't show them as much. So it's very similar, I guess, to the screen on the Galaxy S25 Ultra. They have a really great anti-reflective coating, but it's still a glossy screen. And so in certain lighting, like, you can still see reflections in it, and it's the same with the Surface Pro anti-reflective screen. It's not a matte display. That said, for me personally, I've always found OLED nicer to look at when typing. Whether regardless if you're using light mode or dark mode, I always think text looks better on an OLED screen. So I would go with that, I guess, if that's my personal suggestion.
Has HP dropped the Spectre X360 line with its new branding, or is it only the Snapdragon models that gets the new branding? No, they dropped the Spectre X360. All Spectre, yeah, it's all gone. The new chip names OmniBook. They have OmniBook X, OmniBook 7, OmniBook 5, OmniBook Ultra, and then it's usually followed by the screen size. I think it's like 14. And then I forgot there's a letter designation afterwards that tells you if it's, I think it's like Q, A, and I think probably makes sense for Qualcomm, AMD, or Intel. And that's how you tell the difference. Lenovo has something similar too. They'll have like the ThinkPad 3i or something like that, and where the I means it's Intel, and if it didn't have an I, it means AMD. So they don't use an A. So it's a little all over the place like that. But yeah, no more Spectre branding. It was cool branding. It was also didn't make really sense branding. Plus, they spelt it weird with the RE versus ER. So it was a little strange. But yeah. What's your current thoughts on the Xbox strategy? Would you encourage anyone to invest in their hardware, considering that there's little to no incentive to owning one in the first place? Well, I mean, with that end piece you just said, you're already saying there's little to no incentive to owning one in the first place. Then it sounds like no. Then I wouldn't. I don't think it'd be. I stopped using my Xbox a couple years ago. I'm term. There's something fundamentally wrong with it. It was just I eventually just switched to a Chromecast type device, the 4K Google TV, whatever it is they're calling it these days. I just found it simpler and a little bit faster. Just I wasn't playing as many games on my Xbox as that justified it. But that's me. I don't play a lot of video games, so it's really hard for me to answer this question. I was one of the people that bought an Xbox in the day because of its multimedia abilities. Like when they introduced all the multimedia stuff with Xbox One, I was like, ooh, cool. And I've said this before. I bought the original Xbox 360 because it was one of the first things to get Netflix streaming.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was wild because at the time I had fiber optic internet. And so I was just like, let's go. And I was very excited about the idea of just like streaming movies on demand. And I also used to watch pay-per-view UFC through the Xbox. As a side effect, I played video games on the Xbox, but I don't do that much anymore. So I don't know. If you play a lot of video games, and I think the Xbox Game Pass is awesome.
Yeah. I will say, I think if the rumors are true and Microsoft is going to embrace PC gaming with the next Xbox, I think that's the incentive. I think if you are somebody who values PC games in addition to console gaming, then the only choice is an Xbox then, because Xbox runs Windows and there's no real, and especially if the rumor is true that you will be able to download other storefronts like Steam and what's Origin and all the other gaming stores on Windows on your console that's under your TV. That's insane. That's something PlayStation will never do. And so while there may not be the edge there in regards to exclusives on Xbox, I think there's two ways they can do it, differentiate, and that's one of them is being this open platform for both Xbox and PC games. But two, make the best hardware. Like right now, the PS5 Pro does trump the Xbox Series X, but next gen, Microsoft needs to make sure that whatever console they're building is better than whatever Sony's building. If it's got a better GPU, if it can run games at a higher frame rate, that's your edge because you don't have the exclusives. So that at that point it becomes a toss up between do I want the exclusives and run everything else at a lesser frame rate, or do I want the Xbox that can play Xbox and PC games and at a higher frame rate than those cross-platform games on PlayStation? I think that's where Microsoft needs to sort of focus its efforts on with the next-gen Xbox if they are going down this route of making all Xbox exclusives no longer exclusive. It comes down to what hardware is better at that point. What's your reaction to the Signal app and Windows recall feature? I think it's a great feature. I don't know what. I don't think this is controversial news. I think recall is great, and I think Signal building in a feature that will allow, that will stop recall from capturing it is also great. I think those both are perfectly reasonable things to do. And there's no controversy there. It's great. I think Signal should have a mode that stops it from being captured by recall automatically. Obviously, anyone using recall would have already set up recall would have already set up Signal to not appear in recall anyway through the filtering options. But if you are lazy and maybe you forgot to do that, Signal now has a safety measure built in, so it will automatically not be captured, and that's fine and that's good. And that doesn't mean recall's a bad feature. I think recall's a great feature. But yeah, Signal's just protecting itself there, and that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and to be clear, for those who forget, like recall has a very easy way.
Yes, yeah.
To add apps to it to do this from the other end. So you can be like, when you set up recall, you can just go through and add the apps you don't want to be included. So you can add Signal to that. This is more like a fallback safety thing in case you missed or forgot that. You can also, of course, just pause recall. So if you want your next hour session for whatever you're doing, you could hit pause and it won't do the screen caps as well. I think it's a cool feature if they can do that, make it kind of automatic. Sure, it makes sense, But I just want to, remind people that you could just do this from the app itself and recall. And recall's, I think, one of their best designed apps that they've done.
Okay, last call for questions. If there are no more questions, then it's time to head off. Dan, you need to get your webcam fixed.
Seriously. Yeah, I'll look into alternatives for next week because it's frustrating. All right, I say we head off.
Cool. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We'll be back next week. Follow us on Twitter. We'll keep you updated on when we go live. But until then, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.